Or I said, how good are they out there? Somebody looked at me and said, they're the best. You're supposed to be the best, right? You're right on the front. Right now, at ease. Let's have a little fun, right? We'll have a little fun. Listen to you. You or something.
My name's Mike Wendell, and I had a similar circumstance happen to me. I'm a whistleblower, and I had documents, a half a dozen confidential informants. The name of the town is Ellenville, New York, and I've been trying to get my information in front of the Attorney General, Mr. Eric Schneiderman, for 5 years. Is there any way you would look at the environmental injustice in Ellenville?
I've spoken to folks in our office.
Many times, and I've sued New York State. Would you look at Ellenville?
We have looked and we are looking.
And you'll work with Mr. John Faso, Congressman Faso.
I appreciate if you ask the questions that relates to the filmmakers and not to...
We have looked and we are looking.
And
So what you should do is call here,
well,
call Kingston, right there.
yes.
Okay? And
Well, my biggest concerns are the health and safety, welfare of the constituents.
absolutely. So what is the pollution?
The pollution is radioactive materials, tritium, strontium.
From
90,
where? What's the source of that?
The Channel Masters that
The
originated in
former
Ellenville.
TV firm.
It was former military.
Yeah.
It was legacy waste
Has
from the
DEC,
DSM. The
has-
DSM is,
Has DEC or any agency like that ever
they're all aware of it.
quantified this?
They're all aware of it.
Okay.
It's a long, long story, but it's legacy waste from 1939.
Chris Gibson they had a file on this. Let me. I will ask with that information. I'll ask the staff to tell me to look into this thing. Especially, I want to see if there's a DEC component here.
There is.
Okay.
I promise.
And all right. Mike,
Thank you very much.
Where do you work?
Hi, my name's Paul Danko. I'm a 15 or 16 year employee of New York City Department of Environmental Protection, DEP. I work for the Watershed Department, which is upstate, in charge of the fresh water that goes to New York City. I was partially, I don't know, I was responsible in grand jury testimony that which wound up the city to give a plead guilty to some criminal act that I never even knew. This is all public knowledge. They had to rehab the sluice gates, which contained the mercury that was getting into the aqueduct, and that's the only fresh water source and potable water going to New York City. They're gonna fire me. They've been retaliating against me since. They're gonna fire me on the 16th. It sounds like my lawyer has been in touch with the disciplinary council. They're violating whistleblower laws. I just wanted everybody to know that what other rules are they flagrantly disregarding? You know, I don't know an employee in their right mind now that would report the DEP doing something wrong after seeing what happened to me. I'm a high-profile employee. Everybody in the upstate east of Hudson district knows me. If they don't know me, they heard of me. A lot of things that happened. I was putting this out there to see if somebody was interested. Could you email me back? It's Danko, DANKO 9968 at yahoo.com. Thanks.
In 1997, the EPA informed New York City that it must immediately install a filtration system at the affluent to its aqueduct in order to comply with the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. This filtration system would have cost the city up to $20 billion. Instead of compliance, the DEP went to court and got a 5-year postponement of installing the filtration system, which they have kept renewing every 5 years ever since. What if the big secret wasn't just about the New York City leaking aqueduct? And what if the big secret was a lot bigger and a lot better kept?
Hi, my name is Roy Sassenscheid, and we're here, as you can see, at the Napanoka Reservoir, which is one of the big reservoirs that supplied New York City with all their drinking water.
New York City gets all of its drinking water, which is conveyed through an aqueduct tunnel, from the Hudson Valley and Catskill Mountains of upstate New York. This water tunnel that conveys 1 billion gallons of water to New York City residents per day cracked. In 2006, severe rain events hit the greater Northeast area and severe flooding occurred in upstate New York. Right afterwards, the DEP began supplying bottled water and chlorinization filters to homeowners living directly above their New York City leaking aqueduct, and then they commissioned 2 years of extensive engineering and consultants to study the problems associated with the broken aqueduct. In 2009, the DEP commissioned 4 more years of extensive USGS studies and reports to make observations of the chemistry of the local and public drinking water wells. New York City performed their due diligence by dividing the study into 4 designated areas. In the first DEP designated area, 55 homes were deemed so toxic and beyond repair that they needed to be bought out, demolished, and deed restrictions applied, mandating that no future structure for human inhabitation could ever be built upon again. In the second and third DEP designated areas, New York City agreed to build a new public drinking water system for over 300 residents, with the one major stipulation that all residents agree to sign a health release for all future litigation. The public drinking water system extended 1.5 miles north to the Ellenville Troopers Barracks, which had tested positive for 13,800 parts per billion of strontium-90. Unknown to the public at the time was the fact that during severe rain events, the outward flow from the leaking aqueduct would act with a whirlpool effect, forcing World War II legacy wastes from the nearby landfill and Signals Corps factory into people's drinking water wells.
No?
The health department answer that question? I mean, what do we do in the meantime with all this mold?
It just keeps growing. I can't keep my windows open and everything because it's just blowing around the house.
That was a concern a couple months ago when we were here.
Yeah.
Blowing up mold, and it was decided amongst the fact that we weren't going to do mold testing. I mean, I made my opinion known that I thought that it might be prudent to test everybody's, to just at least do a baseline test of everyone's basements to see what they have. I'm not saying even to make recommendations. It just would be helpful to know what's there, and then you can at least speciate it and tell your doctor what it is, exactly.
I agree 1,000%.
Just so that everything's documented. I mean, here we are, we're really just documenting the process because eventually we're hoping one day we're going to have solutions to these problems. Correct? Whether it be the flood buyout, whether it be the monies from the DEP, or the result of our ongoing lawsuits with the city.
The local politicians then enacted a media blackout so that no word of it would be printed and that no rumors could be spread.
Everything's being covered up here. There's a gag order on the press. I gave my card to the lady out in the front. I would like to have a meeting with you.
Okay.
There's a lot going on that you need to know, and I'm not afraid to say it. I was trying to push out of my house. I wouldn't let them. They raised my taxes to try to drive me out because my stepmother fought the town about this. There's broken water pipes underneath the ground. You can't drink the water. This is by Lippman Park in Warsing, where the dump is. A lot of it has to do with the poisons that ran from the dump underneath. I can water my plants with the water and they die. My house is supposed to be fixed by the DEP, and the guy in charge of that in the village here, he keeps pretending he doesn't know me. My house is full of mold, and I really need to have a meeting with you. And the lady out at the table has my business card. I do dog rescue on business cards. There's a lot here that you need to know, and I'm not afraid to stand up and represent these people here. because everybody's afraid to tell you. I've commented on Facebook on your page, but I'm sure somebody else runs that page. But we really need you. We need to have an office in Ellenville because people need you here. That boy did die from brain cancer that she mentioned, and nobody cares. They drove the man to Florida, bought his house out so he'd shut up. They had him arrested. His name is Mike Wendell. He runs a page on Facebook called Maximum Waters. And I think you should go on.
The contamination that people are being exposed to time and time again.
But this is bad. This is really bad.
Yes, we are.
They just want to buy our houses out, the DEP, knock them down, and that's it. They want people to shut up. They want you to sign a health waiver that if you got sick from the mold or the water, you won't sue once they buy your house out plus 10%. That's what his house is missing all along 209 of Warsing. And it's also they can pocket the money.
We will be talking some more, you and I.
We need to sit down and talk. My name is Denise.
Denise, thank you, Denise. And listen, it's about making sure that the issue is it's a pervasive problem. It's a big problem. It's a problem that if you actually own it, corruption is too. And if you own it, the amount of effort it's going to take and to deal with it, I think is the reason why there's so much of an attempt to bury it. It's important to have leadership on this.
I know a lot of the dirty little secrets.
Hi, my name is Roy Sassage. We're at the site of the Napanock Reservoir, which supplies New York City with all the water. And we're about the 55 secret buyout houses.
Yes. I learned about it when I got the house when my father died. But I wasn't part of it because I came a little bit too late. So they offered me to have my house repaired.
Why do you think it was a secret and it wasn't in the paper or nothing like that, and they didn't want nobody to know about it?
Because then they would have had to admit there was something wrong.
And people are just getting frustrated, really frustrated, and nothing's happening, you know?
Nothing's gonna happen until the right people either come to terms with it, that everyone is going to learn about it and they are going to do something about it as a group. Nothing can be done unless people get together as a group.
Right.
And do something. There's nothing to fear. They can't do anything to you. And the town has to take responsibility for this. It's gonna get worse if they don't address it now.
Yes,
and it's never gonna go away unless they do something with it. The time is now.
Because people are dying left and right in this area.
But from what I'm hearing now is I would have to sign a health waiver in case I had gotten sick because of the mold and the dampness and everything, and that's not gonna happen. That's going above and beyond to hide a secret. And to get rid of liability, and that's something they should not do with people.
No. But why would you think they kept this a secret and not put it in the newspapers?
Because they want people to come here, buy houses, spend their money, and so they hide it. People come up, their houses fall apart, their kids die, and the water's polluted, and they're stuck. Because, people, they don't want to do anything because they're afraid of the value of their property going down. What people don't realize is their property on 209 in Warsing and in any of those areas is worthless.
Now, you know about the Charades building, how it used to be a secret military base.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden it's been taking 3 years to demolish the whole building, and nobody's ever seen one truck leave this site. What do you think they did this, and where would they dump all? Where do you think they would dump all the material?
Well, I'm thinking if a truck never left there, was buried, it never left that property.
Yeah.
That would just add to everything, add insult to injury.
Yes.
But I would say that it probably made the whole problem worse. There's something that's not right there.
That's true.
And when Charade was there, they used poisonous chemicals. I worked there for 9 years. Yeah. And if they were smart, they would do something about the problem, refuse to sign a health release, say, I want my house fixed, because that's what's the right thing to do. And people would group together, come together as a whole, stand up against these people. And it's been, I don't know if it's a gag order, I don't know what they consider it. It's all going to come out.
Yes, it's all
And
coming
people
out,
need
yes.
to pay attention, watch these videos, listen to Mike, listen to us, and they need to stop being afraid, because there's nothing to be afraid of. What are they going to do to you?
Right.
Those things only happen in the movies.
Yep.
Okay? You need to get together as a group, form a group, say, I am not going to take it anymore, put your foot down and fight these people. People are going to die.
Yep.
But a higher power needs to find out about this, and once they do, they need to address it.
That's what we're
And
hoping
only we can do this, people. Only we can make this happen.
for. Yes.
Stop
exactly.
being afraid. Stop being afraid of making somebody mad. So what? Somebody gets mad. You're still going to be alive. Get this problem fixed. Newburgh is addressing their water problem right away. Why aren't we?
Yes, that's the truth. People are dying, and it's not good. And the military, they don't care about it.
They're trying
And it might be a little bit of a secret buyout. There's a lot of stuff I never told people before, and I'm just going to do this really quick. People can rewind if they want to, but in 1936, the Army Corps of Engineers, under the Flood Control Act of 1936, took the task of flood control, which means they built dams, which this is one of them, to alleviate flooding down the line in Napanoch. In 1937, the Army Corps of Engineers declared eminent domain on 3 towns, which is where the water lays right now. Those towns were Eureka, Montila, and Lackawanna. In 1938-39, the Army Corps of Engineers was given a second task of creating a new weapon of mass destruction for FDR. Because they had these 3 towns and they already owned them under eminent domain, it's possible that they used the buildings, the structures, the cornfields, the little roads as a proving grounds, which is what they test weapons of mass destruction on if so needed. This whole area, from as far as the eye can see, and that way, and then as far as the eye can see the other way, was called the Rondout Creek. This earthen dam did not exist until 1946. After this reservoir was built and it was put online to supplement New York City's water supply, they built 3 more reservoirs to the west of it: the Papacton, Cannonsville, and Neversink. Those 3 other reservoirs all feed into this reservoir. Every single drop of water that New York City residents drinks comes from the Rondout Reservoir, and this is the Merriman Dam in Napanoch, New York. All this water here feeds straight down into a pipe underground that will go down to depths of 845 feet from here, across the Hudson River, into another reservoir called the Kensico, which is just a holding reservoir. Bottom line is, there was a secret military factory utilizing secret nuclear materials back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's getting torn down. Some of the methyl mercury found its way to the bottom of this Rondout Reservoir, otherwise known as the reservoir in Napanoch. And instead of picking up at the 3 reservoirs to our west and going around this, they chose to keep it a secret and accept a few losses as collateral damage. Some people in New York City who, after severe rain events, may experience some increase in cancer-related illnesses, especially pregnant mothers and children up to 2.5 years old. The premise is that when hurricanes or flooding comes about, they dump 3% of these reservoirs to make room for new water. That stirs up the mercury off the bottom, and that flows down into the New York City residents' drinking water for a period of months to maybe a year. The facts of this are coming out, and the military never did anything illegal. Although some people at today's standards might think it's unethical or immoral, they were forced to find a new weapon of mass destruction prior to World War II. They had to experiment on things, money was lacking. They already had these 3 towns under eminent domain, so they never thought that methyl mercury would be hazardous 80 years later. Fast forward to maybe 2011, there's an aqueduct leak down the road under Centora's house and my house and 300 other residents. They had to kind of buy out these people before it became a cancer cluster quietly in plain sight. You can't buy out 55 houses coming off the tax rolls, tear down an 8-acre factory quietly, so they had to make sure that newspapers would never print a word of it. They were successful for the last 4 or 5 years, but now we've gotten the details of the who, what, where, when. The gentleman in charge of the DEP side of it was a young man named Paul Rush. He was Army intelligence from the Army Corps of Engineers, graduating out of West Point. It was legal, but they needed to keep the secret and pacify the people that lived here. So over the last 5 years, we've kind of brought the things to their attention, and all the residents turned a blind eye, stuck their head in the sand. These were the only people that could have brought it to the light of day by hoping to get it in the newspaper. They chose not to. They were more worried about their property values going down than they were whether the odds of their child getting cancer might be increased a little bit. With these chemicals, it goes by lethal dose, LD 50s, or lethal dose accumulated. It's trichloroethylene, benzene, and methyl chloride. These facts are being put on a website. It's come to the public's attention, and we're trying to make sense of it all. Main takeaway is these individuals that were in charge of keeping it quiet did nothing legal, and it's the residents themselves who kept it from getting in the newspapers.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that we needed to test for radioactives, and I was hoping to get some help.
Lewis, this guy's down here in the truck said that he wants to test for radioactive materials beyond the parking lot here.
With his lawyer and an activist.
He wants to test for radioactive materials, he said. He's down here with his lawyers and stuff. I don't know. You want to speak? You want to speak to him?
Could you just tell us if there are any UC people around?
I'm not telling you anything because you're business.
I just came from town hall.
Can you
and I
prove
talked
to me
the
who you
building
are?
inspector.
Can you prove to me who you are?
Who am I?
The A2 Environmental Solutions, not that, but he's with a radioactive. Well, what company are you from?
Basically DeVore.
DeVore, he says. The company called DeVore. Okay, here you go. He'll speak to you.
It is breach analysis. Looks like it has been removed.
Oh, yeah.
And so, after this, I'd like to swing by and see what's going on there because, I guess, could you elaborate maybe a little bit on what's...
Well, half of it's already been demolished, the other half will be short.
Okay.
So the foundation will be the building will be gone. So.
Okay.
Here we are at ground zero. Very close to where the metal drums were buried.
That's why we wanted to bring it up to see, is there anything that we're missing? Is there any data that we don't have that you can give to us?
We are sure that there's methyl chloride, there's benzene, and there's trichloroethylene of 980,000 parts per billion underneath that slab. Mm-hmm. And so if that levee breaks, people die around here. That's why it's kind of a touchy point with the community.
I appreciate that. And so if there was any elevation information to help us refine this to see, does the water stay outside of here?
We pray to God it does.
The Channel Masters factory is reduced down to a slab. And now after the recent hurricane in Texas, there's some emergency flood work. Flood remediation work going into the Fantine Kill Stream. Because we certainly don't want to have a repeat of the Love Canal and the bathtub effect. We'll be bringing you more findings as the flood remediation program begins. Today we've got heavy equipment moving into the floodplain. Greetings. You're the gentleman that we got before.
Earlier.
Mike Wendell.
Yeah. You're still not you're not a douche.
Could you just tell us if there are any
nothing.
people around?
I'm not telling you anything because you know your business.
I just came from town hall.
Can you
and I
prove
talked
to me
the
who you
building
are?
inspector.
Piece of paper
I don't need to prove a damn thing. I'll be
Please
back
get off
tomorrow.
the state property and stop filming my guy.
If it's a state property, then why do I have to get off of it?
Please stop filming my guy. It's none of your business.
The site I live radioactive. I've lived here for 50 years.
Good
People
for
are
that
dying in the school next door.
Don't bother my guy.
There's no air monitors.
There are air monitors for water?
For that building.
You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you ought to go do some fucking research and come back tomorrow, okay? Please leave my guys alone.
I'm not doing. What am I doing to you guys on the other side of the street?
You don't need to be here filming them.
Whatever you have to hide is not hidden anymore.
I'm gonna hide. Get off.
You got your name?
You're not insured to be on my site, are you?
Not on your site. If you see
you
those
are.
blue markers.
Anything, you were just standing right there.
You see those
You're inside
blue
the blue
markers?
marker. Look to your left. You see the blue marker? Get back. Stay
You
back.
have a name, young man.
None of your business.
This one.
What's the title of the purple and the blue legend?
It is breach analysis, 1% annual chance.
What's the purple one?
Oh, I'm sorry, you asked the green. The green is the National Valley.
Okay.
So
That's the one that would kill everybody, the purple one.
the purple one is if the levee breached, this is what we would be showing.
It's going to allow the water to keep rolling here and not back up and flood us out. And that's kind of part of the point.
Do you have a contact at the Corps that we can get in touch with?
I know that stuff.
You have that stuff? Oh, so Al, you know what's happening?
I know exactly what.
Okay.
Condition. So that's just something that, I'm saying it to you so you know we're in the middle of doing that, trying to do it. Yeah, so.
Well, I guess.
And that was getting back to the map change. That map change affected a substantial amount of homes in that community several years ago.
Accreditation requirement.
No, there's no link involvement.
Some of these are only a couple of feet.
Oh, you mean as far as the, yeah. Even if it's something
That's
that's.
straight.
For any potential rainfall. And here we see Mr. Harrington, with the DEC doing a walkthrough. And again, it's September 13th. Mr. Harrington is on the job site doing a walkthrough and checking on what these contractors are doing. In the background, we see the Ellenville Central School children playing, and hopefully they'll be safe. Here we are at the Sandberg Creek, and it's September 13th. The contractors are kind of doing a hurry up and trying to get this levee reinforced. The bubbler is that cargo container down there. That is the only thing that's been keeping Ellenville water safe. For the last 4 decades, it was supposed to clean VOC wastes out of the groundwater, and that would have prevented brain cancers and leukemia. This is the bubbler down here at Channel Masters, and all those wellheads that have been popping up in the concrete slabs is kind of where they've been burying the transuranic nuclear wastes. The public wasn't really supposed to know about this and was just supposed to imagine that 20 or 40 wellheads just appeared by magic overnight, but we caught on to them.
Okay.
It's possible we have toxic waste underneath that concrete slab that we're very worried about, the levee breaching and getting to that toxic material.
Yeah, and I think Alan Springett wanted concern?
Oh, there's a lot of concern. It's taken 3 years and no trucks have ever left the site. It's gone on for 3 years. Everybody in town's aware of it. And there could be legacy radioactive wastes buried underneath the building. The slab, which will remain. That's why we're a little worried about levees breaking.
Yeah, and so I want to, yeah, we'll look at this area.
No news. Can't you talk at all about the DEC?
Nope.
Air monitors?
Nope.
Anything? Flood remediation in the Fantine Kill Creek.
He's unable.
But if he's standing in the next room, can't he at least acknowledge me? It's all about his complicity with Bill S6276.
Great.
I know you're not complicit. You're not going to go to jail, Kevin, I promise.
I'll be right back.
You did what you had to do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the radioactive materials in the water, Kevin. Tell Kevin, so many people have died because of this toxic radiation, strontium-90, and more or less tritium. And by him running away for the last several years, a lot more people have died when they didn't have to.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And we'd appreciate him doing something about it before another 100 people have to die of leukemia.
Hey, Mike, I am allowed to talk to anyone.
About the issue of the 55 contaminated houses?
You know, Mike, you've raised it, and I gave it to Rob. Hey,
Can we talk about the 55 contaminated houses that are in the DP cancer cluster, Judge?
No, we can't. Thank you very much.
I can't do it right now.
Good luck with supervisor. Introduce myself. My name is Mike Quinn. I've been sending you guys a lot of hard copy information, and it's related to Ellenville, Eric Schneiderman, and some of the serious subjects about groundwater contamination, and also a 55 house development that might have been embezzled, fraud, embezzlement. We have paperwork.
And that campaign was all about this 3 years ago. And got to Albany, the concept, all about it. And I'm anxious to get this also includes malicious prosecutions and judicial stuff.
Well, I have information now. I'll take a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I don't.
You guys never did. Nice meeting you.
Down at the Ulster County Sheriff's Office. Oh, we're going to get some answers from Sheriff Van Blarkum. Sheriff Freer? This is Mike Wendell. I'd like to start the investigation.
You downstairs?
Yes, I am.
Okay, it is December 22nd, 2016 at 3:30. I'm here with Michael Wendell, and I'm under Sheriff Freer conducting an internal investigation, and we're just here to gather the facts so I can do my investigation.
Very good. We have.
And can I just interrupt you for
Most
a second?
definitely, please.
I was remiss in stating for the record that there's another person in the room with us who's videotaping this conversation. So that's all. I just forgot to put that on the record. I like to have everything on the record.
Well, we need it all on the record because a lot of lives are at stake here. The whole thing comes down to the New York City aqueduct being cross-contaminated.
What's it contaminated with?
Trichloroethylene, benzene.
Trichloroethylene and benzene. And where'd that come from?
It came from a place called Channel Masters.
Out of the big plant down there in Ellenville.
That is correct.
Village Ellenville, yeah.
The remainder of the barrels, I guess, they dumped down the boiler drains. They didn't want to pay for to get rid of the rest of them the right way, so they just poured it down into the drain.
So you did see 55-gallon drums of chemicals.
Yep.
Going out the back door, out the side door.
Out the back door.
At your loading door.
Yep, out the back doors.
And it was trichloroethylene.
I presume it was trichloroethylene.
Because you know for sure that the
well, I know they use that.
And possibly benzene too.
Could very well
Well,
be.
they found 1,200 parts per billion of benzene.
Of benzene in there? Oh my God.
Yeah, and then 900,000
Well, like I
parts
said,
of
I know when
perchloroethylene.
they wanted new trash barrels, they would take the top off a barrel that had chemicals in it, take them out back and throw a match in there, and this cloud of black smoke would go up.
To find out a little bit more information about this structure and why none of the hazmat material has left the site, but the building has disappeared.
They gotta be hauling it out of here, don't they?
You never see the trucks going anywhere, do you? But I'd like to follow one. Just see where this stuff really does end up.
You don't see them coming in or out?
Never.
112, Jerry.
Will you talk about the contaminants under China Masters?
I don't know what to talk about. You have the questions.
Oh, I'm wondering where all of that material, the hazmat materials, went to that were taken away from Channel Masters.
I just told you that the supervisor is the liaison for that area. He's the one that's responsible for having that information.
Do you have any idea where they took that?
Mike, what'd I just say?
Lead poisoning is number one importance to me, and putting the individuals in jail that caused it is a secondary priority.
You got that thing off or on?
Oh, it's on.
Turn it on.
Also, what the USGS found in the wells, in the 55 houses, was strontium-90, also tritium, and uranium, which are all radioactive nuclear elements. And that's kind of how we got started on this whole issue. I took the findings of the USGS to Holly Carnwright, our district attorney. It was July of 2013. I said, Holly, there's radioactive nuclear fallout in my neighbor's well, 60 picocuries of tritium. How did it get upstate, into upstate New York wells, right above the New York City aqueduct leak?
This is Holly Carnwright, the man who threatened to call the police on me if I came to him with any more evidence. Holly, would you have anything to say? Holly, walking away from it isn't going to save the babies that are dying with brain cancer, leukemia, and lymphoma, Holly. Don't run from it, Holly.
Is the Ellenville area, what, I forget the terminology, a hotbed for cancer?
It's called Disease Registry of Cancer Clusters.
Cancer clusters.
Losses.
Well, that's all civil litigation, either brought by a class action suit or the Attorney General's office, the state's Attorney General.
In mass toxic torts.
That's where you should go.
That's where I started 3 or 4 years ago. I've been shuffled around. No official has been allowed to reply to this evidence. Right here is evidence that 9,100 gallons per minute comes into the New York City aqueduct.
Mm-hmm.
This is the New York City aqueduct. And if you want to read with me, what does that say?
It says water inflow in gallons per minute.
And how many gallons per minute is it right here?
9,100.
And that groundwater contaminated, flowing into the New York City aqueduct after every severe rain event. This is what the whole...
Yeah, but it can't get into the aqueduct here. It's got to go to the reservoir first.
The aqueduct is cracked 500 feet.
I know, it's leaking.
In lime rock. When the aqueduct's turned on and there's out pressure,
right,
it pushes the water out.
Right.
When they turn the aqueduct off, the pressure inside the groundwater
Right, and the water would come in.
goes into New York City. When they turn the water off here, because of flooding events, all of the tritium, strontium-90, and uranium goes into the New York City aqueduct and kills children up to 2.5 years old in New York City.
I
for a
think they
period
got
of 6 months afterwards.
Aren't they, they got a big project in fixing that. Have you talked to de Blasio?
I've talked to everyone except property.
What is this yellow line?
That is a DEP designated area number 1.
Oh, I see.
This is a cancer cluster number 1, where the other cancer clusters in the DEP area extend up to the Troopers Barracks.
Oh, in Ellenville.
The Ellenville State Troopers Barracks showed 19,000 parts per billion of strontium-90.
You should go down and let the troopers know.
I did 3 years ago. They said their hands were tied, and it would either be up to Holly Carnwright, the district attorney, or the attorney general.
Bottled water.
They were put on bottled water in 2006.
Yeah, were they really? Yeah.
John Schetzel died of a brain tumor just a couple of months ago, and he spent most of his life, well, from 93 on, working at that trooper's barracks. He's dead, brain cancer.
What was his last name?
Schetzel.
Schetzel.
John Schetzel.
Yeah, I know John.
You used to know him.
Yeah.
We've sued the Attorney General. I went to the State Inspector General investigator, Lynn Arp. She told me I needed to get a lawyer and file with Integrity and Ethics Bureau.
I think you're better off going into civil court.
Right after
Suing them civilly.
Right after I threatened Holly Cornwright with obstruction of justice, I got a call from Matthew Fontaine from Albany. He was the head of task force for white collar crime. He took down all the details that I'm telling you right now and did absolutely nothing afterwards. This was back in 2013.
You need to go to his boss. So what else? Anything else that
This is the young boy that died of brain cancer from Warren Street.
In Ellenville?
That is correct. And this is his mother, Kim Candela. I think she might bring a wrongful death suit.
It just happened?
Happened April 11th
of this year?
2016.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's more than a shame. It could have been avoided if this issue would have been brought to the light of day back in 2006 during severe rain events.
Okay, is there anything else besides that has to do with my deputies? I mean, you got a lot on your plate. You have a lot on your plate, and it goes off in a lot of different areas, which I don't have any authority or in capacity as internal affairs investigation to go look at. It seems like you got plenty of stuff for a civil court.
Oh, I do.
So,
as a sheriff, would you help me to bring this to the light of the day and court in order to save lives?
No, I'm not going to get involved in this thing right now. I mean, I'm looking at an internal investigation right now.
This is where the criminal activity took place. You can help me present evidence in front of the grand jury, and I'd be you could.
The district attorney is the only one that can present evidence in front of a criminal grand jury. I can't present evidence. I can be a witness. Public opinion is the biggest driver of everything.
The court of public opinion, you mean, is the highest court in the land.
You know, there's 8 million people down in, over 8 million, 8.5 million, I think now, New York City people. Why don't you go get on one of these investigative reporters, what is it, CBS or NBC, they have these investigative reporters. They put that on the air, and if 8 million people read that their water's no good, I think they'd be upset.
Can you prove to me who you are?
Who am I?